Hi, hello everybody. I'm Justin, this is Koopa. Welcome to Koopa's Corner. Today we're going to talk about WWE's premium live event, Backlash. Backlash was just this past weekend. This is going to be our post-show breakdown. So Backlash started off with the Fatal 4-Way for the United States Championship match. It was Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, and Damien Priest. I think that this match was really good. There were some nice interactions between Damien Priest and Drew McIntyre, continuing their rivalry. There were some nice interactions between LA Knight and Jacob Fatu, sort of continuing their rivalry. But there was also some nice crisscross moments where the competitors who weren't actually feuding with each other fought and locked up. Drew McIntyre continues to prove why he's the best damn performer in the company. Really scary moment for Drew McIntyre as Damien Priest overshot the South of Heaven off the top of the thing through the tables. Looked like his head went straight to the concrete. Really scary moment there. And then the match, of course, ended with interference from Solo Sikoa and Jeff Cobb making his debut. Some of you may be a little bit more familiar with Jeff Cobb than I am. I'm not very familiar. All I know is that the crowd didn't exactly go crazy when he appeared, right? It'll be interesting to see where they go forward with that. I think the new bloodline sort of needed something. Right? I mean, Jacob Fatu has outshone Solo Sikoa, every step of the way. And Solo Sikoa was, he was the one who tried to overthrow Roman like he was supposed to be the big star coming out of it. So Jeff Cobb probably is going to add a little bit of life to that. But I'm not super familiar with him or his work. So, it could be a great thing, it could not be. Time will tell, right? Then we had the Intercontinental Championship match between Lyra Valkyria and the Man, Becky Lynch. And this ended up being a bit of a shocker for me. I did not expect Lyra Valkyria to pull out the W here, but she did so. It was a very hard-fought match, a very competitive match. It was pretty good, and it was a lot closer, a lot more back and forth than I expected. Lyra Valkyria is not at the level of Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is a star, and Lyra Valkyria is still trying to climb. And if Becky and Lyra are friends in real life, then this was incredible from Becky, to try and elevate Lyra, to try and really showcase what she's capable of, and to make her seem legitimate, right? She was trying to legitimize her. If you beat a star like Becky Lynch, right, it adds a little bit of legitimacy to your resume. So Becky Lynch here really put a lot of effort into trying to get Lyra over, and Lyra retained the title. I don't think this feud is over. I think ultimately it does end with Becky Lynch winning the Intercontinental Championship. I just think that now, instead of it happening, a Backlash, and then trying to elevate the title that way, they'll stretch it out and they'll put them together a few times before Becky finally wins that gold, and she gets check off a big thing on her resume by winning the Intercontinental Championship, becoming a Grand Slam champion, which should be the first woman Grand Slam champion, right? That would be huge. I mean, that'd be historic. And Lyra gets the benefit of going toe to toe with the biggest star, in the women's division, with the possible exception of Rhea Ripley, for the past 10, 15 years, maybe ever, But at least, through the 2010s, coming up from NXT as part of the Four Horsewomen, right? There's no doubt that the Four Horsewomen were, or are, huge names. So really good for Lyra going forward here. The key with her, I think, is going to be how they follow up with her after she finally drops the title to Becky, right? Can they keep the momentum going? Can they keep her featured in stories for a lot of people, when they're trying to make them stars, it's really as simple as consistency. If you give them television time consistently and you give them stories, consistent stories to tell, and not just a one-off match here or a one-off match there, that goes a long way. It's not everything, but it goes a long way into making them a star. Right? The stories that you tell with them and how consistent they're on TV. So that's going to be the key here. Becky did a lot, took a big step forward, but how they follow up with Lyra when this feud is over, that's going to be everything, really. Then there was the Intercontinental Championship match between Dirty Dom and Penta. And the Judgment Day tried to interfere, but they hesitated, or Finn Balor hesitated. Right? They got kicked out. But then El Grande Americano came in, interfered, and saved the title for Dirty Dom. So this is pretty interesting. This was definitely a solid in-ring performance from both of these competitors, but this was more focused on the story being told rather than the in-ring work. That was secondary. And this furthers the split between the Judgment Day. It also furthers Penta and El Grande Americano, right? El Grande Americano took out Rey Fenix. Now he's interfering to go after Penta, right? This is probably ultimately going to lead to Penta and Rey Fenix teaming back up, forming a tag team. The WWE has a bit of a problem with tag teams, so hopefully they can keep these guys hot. And it was very solid all around. And then we got to Gunther and Pat McAfee, and what should have been just a no contest easy squash ended up being very entertaining, pretty competitive. Like, they did a good job of making it feel competitive without making it feel like Pat was ever Gunther's equal, right? Little bursts of offense, little interference from Michael Cole, couple of moments where it could have swung the other way on a cheap, surprise victory, but never that Pat was actually in the same league as Gunther. And that was a really hard line to balance. And those two performers, they found a way to balance. They found a way to kind of simultaneously showcase both of those things. So nothing but respect there. I mean, Gunther he's S tier. He's an S tier performer, and this proves why. Because it's nothing against Pat, right? Pat is entertaining on commentary, but he was carried in that match by Gunther because Gunther is the regular performer, right? And Pat brought a lot to the table as a performer from a story perspective, right? As an underdog, as somebody you wanted to see kind of escape the clutches of Gunther, escape the, expected dominance. You didn't want to watch him get destroyed. He was sympathetic. Just a great story all the way around, right? Was this a 5-star classic? Like, probably not, no. But the story that was told here was one of the best stories in a long time, like, as far as in-match, right? There's the greater storyline of the rivalry, but then there's the story that these two performers tell between the ropes from bell to bell. And that really, they just nailed it with this one. And then, of course, the main event, John Cena and Randy Orton one last time. And, this was everything that it needed to be. I was a little worried that, John Cena was going to continue to try and ruin wrestling by putting on bad matches. And thankfully that didn't happen here, right? This was slower than some of their previous contests, but both guys are a little bit older. And that's okay. Like, not every match has to be a completely fast-paced, non-stop action. But they did a good job here of keeping it at a decent pace. There was a lot of callbacks to their feud over the years. There was interference. There were a couple of ref bumps. Like, it was a little overbooked, but this did a really good job of paying homage to one of the most storied rivalries of all time. And simultaneously progressing Cena's current story. It was a pretty good event, right? Backlash, it was a lot better than it had any right to be, especially given how WrestleMania just wasn't. WrestleMania fell flat. Backlash on paper, it didn't look that much more impressive. And everyone just kind of hit it out of the park. Like, it was just, WWE feels a lot more focused post WrestleMania than it did building to WrestleMania. It feels like it has, direction. It has long-term story goals it wants to reach, and it is telling those stories. And long-term storytelling is tricky, and it's something that the WWE historically has not done well, but something that Triple H, since he took over from Vince McMahon, has tried to do really well. And WrestleMania being kind of a dud was more of the exception than the rule for, Triple H nailing it and hitting it out of the park. And I think that Backlash wasn't the best event of the year. Like, it just wasn't. It's not going to be. It was good. And it was much better than it probably should have been. But it wasn't, like, the best thing ever. It wasn't going to be, like, pay-per-view of the year or PLE of the year. Like, So if you didn't watch it, there are definitely a few moments that you should go back and check out, like, highlights of. But you probably don't need to sit through it start to finish. And all in all, I was pretty impressed. Maybe it's because I had a lower bar, lower expectations for this than I did for something like WrestleMania. That very well could be it. But all in all, I was pretty entertained. I was having a good time. I enjoyed it. So, what did you guys think? How did it stack up with the other PLEs of the year? Do you think it was a good way to follow up? Do you think it lived up to the hype? Do you think it surpassed the hype? Or was it like WrestleMania? Did it fall a little flat? Let me know in the comments what you think. And, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.